Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to this night ending bonus upload. Before we jump on into it, a couple quick links. As many of you may know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nutt Only. These audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and I do appreciate them. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to this night-ending bonus upload, shall we? All right, guys, today I have a guest and subscriber. His name is Sailor, or that's what his friends call him, so that's what we will call him. He had an encounter in South Carolina, and he is going to share that with us today. Sailor, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Jeff. Greetings from sunny South Carolina, people.
So you had an encounter that just happened out of nowhere, like most do. I'm going to give you the floor, my friend.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right.
Well, this started 2 years ago. I was working at a construction site just outside of Jedburgh, South Carolina, down in a wooded area where they were building some industrial parks. So some of the land was cleared, but most of the land was wooded. My job was the security guard on site. I worked alone, worked 8 hours from 6 o'clock in the evening all the way up into the morning, sometimes 4 and 5 o'clock, depending on how long they needed me to stay there. My job consisted of me having to make rounds around the perimeter of the construction site. I had to have pre-scheduled points I had to check with the wand just to make sure that I made my rounds. And I made the rounds roughly every hour to hour and a half. It was around 2 in the morning. I'm making my rounds around the building. Everything is pretty much going well. It's just a regular boring night. And I'm coming around the north side of the building where they constructed the big bay doors. It's still, most of the building's still open, but they still had that section up. They had string of pretty much electrical lights there, so you can see around in there pretty good. And as I make my way up to the ramp where the big bay door is, I hear a commotion inside, some of the equipment, tools stuff got knocked over, like a big tool chest. And I'm not knowing exactly what's going on. Normally unarmed, but I've learned from other sites that there's a good chance it could be a bear or something like that. So I would get in my car, grab my 9mm pistol, because I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Right.
As I'm making my way up the ramp, I see this form inside the door. I say, it is big. I was like, that's a rather large bear. And as I'm halfway up, roughly about 20 feet, it sort of steps out into more of the light. And I'm basically looking up at a 8.5-foot tall nightmare in my mind. It didn't make any overt moves towards me. It just looked at me.
Now, how close were between what was the distance between you two?
20 feet.
20 feet, all right.
So looking at it, it's looking at me, and I think we are looking at each other like that for a good 30 seconds. And the whole time I'm thinking about in my mind, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, the real oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. My daddy was right, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. My mama was right, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. So in my mind, military training kicked back in. I'm not prepared for the situation. Best to make a tactical withdrawal. So while I got my eyes on it, I slowly began to walk backwards. And the whole time, it is watching me. Not making any overt hostile moves. It is just watching me. And when I get to where my car is, I get inside. It was already cranked. And I peel out of there like I'm burning rubber.
Right.
To the far end of the property. And I'm just sitting there basically hyperventilating. I'm a big guy. I've seen military action in some combat, and that scared me. I don't scare easy, but that scared me.
Oh, I can imagine. Can you give us a brief description of like color, height, weight possible? Did you see teeth visible, tail, anything?
Well, it was about 8.5 foot tall because the bay door had some notches on it. So I knew it was 8.5 foot tall for the notch part. Dark brown in color, basically looked like a gorilla on steroids. It face sort of like there's some intellect there. Like it's not some dumb animal. Like it's knowing what it's doing.
Right.
And this whole demeanor was, I'll do you no harm if you do me no harm. And it pretty much went on its way after it got out of the building and went back into the woods. But it stayed around there in that area for a few days because I noticed like one of the other contractors that I would work with who would do like electrical wiring, he would sometimes stay almost to around 2 o'clock. And he would normally stay late. But after I had my encounter, I noticed that when I came in the next time, he was getting out of there at 6 o'clock. He did not want to stay late anymore. And he never said why he didn't want to stay late anymore. He just made us an excuse. He keeps making excuses why he never wanted to stay late. I'm thinking he saw it too.
Right, absolutely. So what do you have? What was in the building for it to? I mean, what was in that area that it was making a ruckus in?
Well, sometimes the workers who work the site, they bring their lunch. You know, like sometimes people don't exactly get ready to fit their trash like they normally do. So you got leftover food here, leftover food there, piece of burger there. It's like I get to track anything, and well, it was like a free source of food for it.
Okay.
Like you got like leftover sandwiches, chips, all types of stuff that just scattered. So it was just using that building as a convenient food source.
Right. Almost just like its own little convenience store.
Yeah.
So now it didn't make any advances towards you, so you were very lucky on that. Did it show its teeth or make any noises?
It just pretty much stared. It just like had this calm demeanor about it, like I was technically not a threat to it in considered, I would say.
Right.
Like I'm bigger than you, I'm tougher than you. If I want to hurt you, I can hurt you, but I don't want to hurt you.
Definitely. That is terrifying. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't know how I would react. I don't think I would react as calmly as you, with the instinct kicking back into, slowly back away. That's, wow.
I had to credit my father for that, because my father, he was a retired park ranger, and he taught me about the wildlife, and he also said to me, there are other things out there other than regular animals. And he would never go into detail about it, but he was letting me know, like, you might one day encounter something that people say does not exist.
Right, right. Now, the woods around this area where you're working, pretty deep woods?
It's very deep woods. I mean, this woods only connects up to where where several where big state forest is.
Yep.
And that goes all the way to the coast. I mean, it's miles and miles upon miles of forest crisscrossed by streams and swamp, and just plenty of water. The low country of South Carolina is like one of the biggest watersheds in the southeast.
That's what that was going to be my next question, was there a good source of water around? So yeah, you definitely answered that. So it pretty much, it was in its glory where you're located, and it's got food, it's got water readily available, woods, hiding areas. Jesus, there never ceases to amaze me, any encounter. How do you think it got in the building?
Well, the other side of the building was open, so all they had to do was just walk in.
Okay.
There wasn't a wall up there technically, so you could just stroll right on in.
That is interesting. So they had a security guard guarding one section, and then the other section was open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that big deal is they didn't want nobody to come there and steal equipment.
Right. Wow. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your encounter. Trying to think of something. You have now, you said your dad was a park ranger and he shared that with you, like there was other things out in the woods as well?
Yes, he did. He retired as a park ranger. He was a park ranger for the late 50s up into the mid 70s.
Wow. So he's definitely seen something, just never let you know what he saw. I mean, for someone to come out and say something like that is, that kind of gives you, hey, I know what's out there, but I'm really not going to tell you because it'll probably scare the living bejesuses out of you. So
it also explains a lot of stuff that he was not big on camping, even though he spent a lot of time in the woods.
Right.
He said, "Don't go camping." The ex-wife said, "Don't go camping." Ever.
Yeah.
If you go in the woods, take a gun.
Yeah, most definitely. You should always be prepared, Boy Scout motto, and you're never over prepared with whatever you take in the woods if you're going out with a firearm. So well, I truly appreciate you coming on. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share with the group today?
Yes, sure. It pretty much hasn't been the only encounter with a cryptid I've ever had. A few years earlier, back in 2007, I did encounter something else. It wasn't a ground-based cryptid, but it was a flyer.
Really?
Yeah.
In South Carolina too, as well?
Yep, in South Carolina.
You want to get into that a little bit with us?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I was still working as a security guard, but I was working less years than when I had just started. And I pretty much still had my arms certification. And it started pretty much the week before the incident happened. There was this thing that was going through the area, and it was airborne, and it would scream. I mean, it would make an unholy, loud scream. I mean, almost like a wailing almost. Just flying over my house, through the fields, across the forest, over the way my neighbor's property was. It would circle around, and it would do that between 12 o'clock and about 3 o'clock at night. And it kept doing that, and I was talking with my neighbor. He's passed now. He would say something is eating his dog food because he had a lot of dogs. He had some pit bulls and some other dogs there. And something would come, scare the dogs, eat the food, and leave. He thought it was a coyote. Well, when I told him what I heard, I said, no, it can't be a coyote unless a coyote got a jetpack on.
Right.
because it was circling, and they kept doing that around the same time. But then when it got time for me to go back to work, I'm heading outside to my car because back then I had a fence, but I had parked outside the fence because it was convenient. And I'm walking out, and then I hear this screaming, and it's coming from the north. And I'm looking around because I got a security light, but that area pretty much you can't really see good because the light doesn't come that far. And this thing's coming in close. It is coming in close. And then I get a glimpse of something coming right at me, and I ducked down, hit the deck into almost prone position, and it flew over me. And when it flew over me, it was like trying to get back its wing speed because I guess it missed, and it was trying to get back to a decent air height.
Right.
And I raised up with my service pistol and fired 3 shots in it. Know I hit it at least once, because it made a sort of like a pain scream, and it flew off and left a small blood trail. But for what I saw of it, it was big. It was 10-foot wingspan, large, robust hind claws, and pretty much talons on it that would make a tiger cry. They were big. And this thing, the weirdest thing about it, it didn't have feathers. It had like leathery type wings, almost like a bat.
Right. You know, what's that there's I forget, and I'm bringing it up. Hopefully some subscribers might know, or you might know. There's some sort of flying cryptid. I'm not well versed on the flying cryptids that live in the southern region of the country, and it's said to resemble like a pterodactyl. And it's it's going to come to me right after I upload this too. But was that pretty much kind of like the outline? Large wings, 10 feet wings, you said. Was there,
Yep.
Could you see any feet or legs? Was there like a humanistic legs, or was it more like shorter legs?
The legs were shorter. The legs looked like something that would be on a large bird of prey, only with no feathering around it.
Right. Yeah, what the heck is it called? It's going to drive me insane too. That's insane. That's it. So that encounter happened, and you saw it, and it just, as soon as it happened, it just pretty much dissipated as well.
Yes, we stopped hearing it like pretty much a day later.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, it literally had killed one of my neighbor's dogs. I guess like the meanest one he had there, challenged it, and the thing pretty much grabbed it and took off with it, and he found the dog further in the woods, torn apart.
Oh God.
Yeah.
This
is a 90-pound dog, and it took off with it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's
power.
That's definitely not a bird of prey that is, around this region, in America. I don't even think eagles or condors could pick something that large up. So, now how close was this encounter to the one with the Dogman? In proximity.
This is about 40 miles different, because this happened right in the Santee area, the way I live. And,
Okay.
And the one with the Bigfoot happened down in the Jedburgh, Somerville area, in between Jedburgh and Somerville itself.
That is definitely interesting. Yeah, I think I'm going to start getting a little more versed on the flying cryptids, because I just, for the death of me, I cannot remember the name of it, but it's said to resemble a pterodactyl, and be large wingspan, about what you described, and attack smaller animals that it can carry. I believe it's said to attack human beings when they go up into their region. But that's crazy. That is, I really appreciate you sharing that encounter with us. Now you just opened a whole new door for me, because now I'm just going to be looking at flying cryptids as well.
Yep. Yeah, I've did some research. I ain't the only one that seen it. They've been seen all over the state. Normally they'd be like the upstate where the mountains is, but every now and then they trickle down to my area.
Right. Probably looking for food, or, you know, easy access to food. Anything that's readily available for them to get without being seen, hopefully. So.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing these two encounters with us. Now you're not doing security anymore, are you?
Oh, I still do security because, well, I found it's the one job that is recession-proof.
Yeah, you'll always have a job in security. So
yeah.
I appreciate you coming on today. I wish you nothing but luck, and I hope you stay safe during, you know, your night job. Hopefully you don't see any more cryptids. I would have been terrified the first one. I don't know how you maintained your cool. I mean, till the end, when you got into your car and took off like that, that would be me the whole way.
I couldn't freak out. Gunny would be mad at me.
Right.
You called me from Florida to like, why did you freak out, sailor? I trained you better.
Yeah.
Yes, Gunny.
Well, all right, man. I appreciate you coming on, and if you want to say a little piece to everybody before we let go, here's your chance.
Yeah, sure. Glad I was able to share my story with y'all. And if I give any word of advice to people, is that if you're going to go into the woods, 1, be armed. 2, do not drink in the woods. That just leaves your perceptions down and makes it easier for something to sneak up on you. And 3, take care of nature. Don't abuse it. Treat it like it's your own home, and enjoy it.
Right on. That was some great advice. I seldom think about that because I don't drink myself, but a lot of people do, you know, while they're out camping and stuff, and their sense of awareness is hindered then. Thank you for bringing that one up. I really appreciate that. So, with that, guys, Sailor, thank you for coming on, and I hope that you have a great day, and this should be uploaded a little bit later on today.
Sure thing. God bless.
All right, God bless, my friend. Wow, that was one heck of an interview. You know, I never get sick of meeting new people, hearing their experiences out of their mouths. And also, really quick, the cryptid I was thinking of is the snellygaster. That's the word and the name of the cryptid I was thinking of. So, to save yourself commenting, that's what I was thinking about. Here's some video clips, and then we'll jump into some narrations.
Yes. Dude, I'm gonna pass out.
Today's first encounter. Richard stepped out of his home in rural Wisconsin into the cool night to look for a tool he had left in the backyard. Searching in the darkness, he was hit by an immense and nearly overpowering wave of primal fear. His senses sharpened as his fight-or-flight response went into full power. Something large, walking on two legs, came around the corner from his right rear. It ducked back and glared at him. As his pupils dilated, Richard could see its long snout, pointed ears, and massive frame. Something told him to quickly look to his front, and he saw another. Scanning his surroundings, he noticed three more, all now maneuvering toward him. Richard, a correctional officer, has been through all high-risk, high-threat training offered as a member of his prison's emergency response unit. He also trains working dogs and maintains a kennel on his property. Better than most of us, he understands canine behavior and the predatory instincts of a killer. Fortunately for him, that life experience kicked in as the five creatures surrounded him. He focused, calmed himself, and assumed an assertive posture and mindset. "Knock it off, I'm not running," he said. He spoke firmly and confidently, just as he would to an aggressive dog or inmate, and it worked. The creatures stopped and slowly retreated. So did Richard, back into the safety of his home. It wasn't the first time he had seen a dogman, nor would it be his last. Today's second encounter. A few SWAT deputies conducting sniper and observer training in the swamps near Shreveport, Louisiana, reported their encounter. The deputies spotted an upright dogman and watched it move in their direction. When the creature got too close for comfort, they broke cover and entered a creek bed to make their escape, at which time they were spotted by the dogman, who had paralleled them from the bank above. One of the deputies fired a round over the head of the dogman in an attempt to scare it off. Far from having the desired effect, a second dogman appeared and sniffed the air to determine where the shot had come from. Coming to within a few feet of the camouflaged and concealed men, the deputies froze, and after about a minute the second dogman walked over to the first, and the pair retreated calmly into the nearby woodline. The deputies waited another 5 minutes before they withdrew to their patrol vehicles and departed the area. Today's third encounter. This story my grandfather told me. In 1940, he volunteered for active duty and was later shipped off to Camp Stewart, Georgia. He had graduated high school in New York City the year before and thought that the U.S. would be fighting in a war eventually. So he signed up before he was drafted. At the time, he was part of an anti-aircraft training unit that was housed in large tents. Camp Stewart, now Fort Stewart, was fairly a new facility, and much of it was under construction. Most of the tents were in or near an area that was densely forested. I don't know how many guys were with him in the tent, but he was friends with another guy from New York City named Pete. They hadn't been there long when stories about weird creatures in the woods started to circulate amongst soldiers. One of the rumors was that a few soldiers had been attacked by an unknown beast within the camp. There wasn't a lot said, and no one, he believes, ever witnessed the attacks. One early morning, my grandfather and Pete, along with other soldiers, were transporting garbage to the area north of camp. He said that there was a large ditch where all the refuse was dumped. It was hauled in large barrels, which were emptied one by one. He was in the lead truck. As he pulled up to the dump area, he noticed a very large dog on the back edge of the ditch, which looked to be digging into the trash. They were commenting that the dog may have been a wolf because it was huge. While they were talking amongst themselves, the dog stood up on its two back legs and looked directly at them. After a few seconds, it turned and dropped to four legs and ran off into the woods. They were alarmed and considered leaving, but there were armed personnel on patrol. They then wondered why armed soldiers needed to guard a garbage dump. They quickly got their work done because they wanted to leave as soon as possible. My grandfather said he later had a conversation with one of the guys who had spent time guarding the garbage dump. And according to him, the higher-ups were aware of these large dogs, which he believed to be wolves. He said that there were similar beasts in the area, and that they were ordered to shoot to kill if they had the opportunity. He admitted that he witnessed one of these wolves stand up on two legs and walk, though he didn't say why he failed to shoot at it. My grandfather was later injured during training, but after 2 years he was cleared for assignment and served in the United States Army in Europe. He said that over the years he had talked with other vets who had trained at Fort Stewart. A few of them were aware of the attacks, and that it probably occurred on more than one occasion. Today's fourth encounter. This happened to me in January of 2014 on a back road of northeast Arkansas. At the time, I was a newspaper delivery driver. I picked up my papers from the press, usually around 12:15 in the morning. And it was about a 45-minute drive to get to the start of my route. At the time, I was a cigarette smoker, so after I bagged enough papers to sustain the route for a while, I'd light up a cigarette and roll down the window. Being cold, I tried to keep it up as much as possible because my car back then didn't have heat. There's a really long stretch of gravel road called Old Military Road near Harrisburg, Arkansas. On the left side of the road is mostly houses, and on the right side is a fence post and open pasture with barns and troughs for horses and cows. It's in the middle of nowhere, though. There are no street lights. Some people have floodlights in their yard. So I'm driving along with my windows down, smoking a cigarette. It's about 2:30, and beginning to smell a combination of burning hair and urine. Like, not a mixture of the two, but one and also another. It isn't a great smell. I toss the cigarette and roll my window up, but I can still smell whatever that awful smell is. The further I go down the road, the worse the smell gets. Usually, see some cows sleeping outside or horses chilling sometimes, but nothing tonight. So I know that I'm not the only one that picked up on something being weird that night. As I'm coming up to a fork in the road, I have to take a left. There's a big open field to the far right. I see what looks like a man with a deer's head. It was too dark for me to tell whether it was a man wearing a deer skull or an actual human deer cross, but it was definitely the source of whatever that smell was, and it scared the shit out of me, and I didn't want to hang out long enough to figure out exactly what it was. My perception, he was shoulder height 7 feet tall. The head probably added another foot. I don't know, but he was massive. There were definitely deer antlers, and the smell was disgusting. I saw him stretch his arms. Imagine flexing your arms and chest by making a wide C with your arm. His movement for 2 or 3 seconds, I just saw him, looked like a human. I found a new job by late January and started by February. Was not interested in ever being in that area again. Today's fifth encounter. I wasn't really sure what I saw was real, but after talking to some friends and reading up on the internet, I'm ready to tell my story. Now, keep in mind, I live in a small town of Milford, Michigan, and I've heard some bizarre stories. But I wasn't too sure about what they were describing. A tall creature that creeps on 4 legs until startled or entering chase, then proceeds to stand on 2. A tall, dark figure that looks like a dog, I thought. These people must be crazy. Deer can do some weird stuff. My friend recently described a story of an encounter about a year earlier. My friend, let's call him Sam, went outside to have a cigarette around 12 or 1 in the morning. His yard has a hill that slopes down from his circled driveway, all the way to a flat area near his basement door. If you walk out that basement directly in the front, you're in front of a pond, and to the left is a shed that they use. At first he noticed nothing, but as he looked closer he noticed a figure on all 4s.
He took out his cell phone and shined his flashlight on this creature, and to his surprise, the thing stood up on two legs, screeched at him, then ran off into the woods. He told us about his encounter the next morning and took us to the spot where he saw it. Sure enough, there were dog prints. That wasn't really unusual, though, because he lives next to a subdivision where we've already helped his neighbors find their dogs about 3 times since. So we shrugged it off. He then brought me into the woods where the creature ran into, and there was clearly a path that something had took. As much as Sam tried to convince me, I still thought it was a deer. That's until recently. Then, on December 24th, 2014, I went for a drive to go to Walmart to pick up some beer, just relax and hang out with friends. Everything was perfectly fine. The moon was out, so you could see just a little bit, and there was no snow or rain. Just a little dampness on the road from a previous rainfall about an hour before. I was on my way back to my house and driving up a curvy, hilly road, up to the top of the hill, the only one in my subdivision, and I noticed something in my neighbor's yard. Now I see deer in the subdivision all the time, and I've actually hit one on an occasion. So I decided to slow down. This thing was definitely the same size as a deer, so I didn't have any second thoughts. That is, until I got close and it ran in front of my car. Now, normally when a deer runs out in front of your car, they either freeze or run right by. And there are normally 2 or 3 of them. This was a single case, and when it ran across the road, albeit on 4 legs, it didn't run the same as a deer. When it ran, it didn't lift its head. It had a low to the ground and looked like it was sniffing something. It then lifted its head and looked, more like glared at me and bolted off. To the right of me, but not before, shortly after, stopping right out of my view. I could still see the figure standing there, but I couldn't make out what it was. All I could see was it was standing on its hind legs and what looked like it was staring at me. I kept trying to get my eyes to adjust from the brightness of my headlights to the dark side of the road, but it just wouldn't happen. When I tried to turn my car around so I could shine my headlights on it, it bolted down the hill into the woods, all the while staying on 2 legs. I still remember the face that I saw when this thing glared at me. It looked like a wolf, but it was the size of a buck. That was the scariest moment of my life, and I've never seen anything like it before. I Googled some information about it, and I found something about the Michigan Dogman. But I don't want to be classified as one of those crazies. I can still see it standing on its hind legs looking at me in the dark. Today's 6th encounter. I lived most of my life in a village named Malik Kiflik in Bulgaria. It wasn't a small place, but everybody knew each other and everybody knew about weird stuff that would happen once in a while. But nobody spoke of it. My first encounter with strange happened when I was 7. It was nighttime and my friends and I were at a park there. Our parents were at a nearby restaurant nearby and some of the older kids were also at the park. At one point I was alone, sitting on a slide when the streetlights went out. So I'm sitting there in the dark and I look at a house that's across the park. Above it is hovering a silver flying saucer. I watched it for 5 minutes before it disappeared. I decided not to tell anybody, but when I approached them, they asked me if I saw it. On that same night, about 12:30, my mom and I started heading home. As we were walking, we were nearing a turn onto a road near a little dirt road. On the right side of it leads to a couple of houses. Suddenly my mom stops. I ask her why, and she just shushes me. So I look at what she's looking at, and there's this man walking in front of us with really long arms that were reaching to his knees, and his head was turned 180 degrees looking at us. It disappeared at the turn of the road, and a couple of seconds later there was this bright light. We stood there for a bit before continuing. Even today my mom rarely speaks of it. 2 months later, in the middle of the summer, most of my peers were gone on vacation or visiting other family. A couple of older kids wanted us to go and pick cherries at this large cherry tree belonging to a man that lived at the edge of the village. A few local adults, when they saw where we were heading, warned us not to go, but of course we didn't listen. Before we even reached the place, we heard some strange noises behind the bushes, so we decided to check it out. Past the bushes was an open field. On it was a dead cow, and feeding on that was an unknown creature that would fit the description of a dogman or a werewolf. It turned its head towards us. Its red eyes looked directly at me. It grimaced at us, showing all of its teeth. We started running and didn't stop until we reached the center of town. Later that same night, it's time for us to head home. The road that leads to my neighborhood is kind of surrounded by a forest. As I'm passing by a cornfield, I hear a growl from a little path that goes into it. I looked at the path and it's pitch dark. The only thing I can see is red eyes and a grimacing smile that starts to form. I started running and that thing chased me. It gains on me and I swear it said, "You're mine," in a very deep, menacing voice. At this moment, my neighbor's dog started barking and I see him rushing towards me up the road. Thanks to them, the creature had lost its momentum for a bit, and I managed to reach the gated fence. I climbed over and sprinted across the yard to my house. The dogs continued barking the whole while. Even today, 18 years later, I sometimes have nightmares about it. A few years later, in the evening, I was playing at a park when I looked up at the sky and saw a bright yellow star falling down. As I watched it suddenly stop and started doing some maneuvers before flying up and disappearing. 2 weeks later, a friend and I were near the place I encountered the beast when he spots the same object falling down in the distance. We watch it as it stops and hovers above the forest before landing. The next day, we are there again with a bunch of kids telling them about the star when we see the field next to the forest in flames, which would disappear and reappear on different spots. Today's seventh encounter. I grew up in New Mexico and I still live there. My whole life I've heard stories about skinwalkers and I consider myself to be somewhat knowledgeable on the subject. I've always been interested in them and find them creepy yet fascinating. And I talk about them a lot, even though one of my Navajo friends insists I shouldn't. And always leaves the room when I bring up the topic. Anyway, I lived on a third-floor apartment north of Albuquerque. The area of the city I lived in was rather busy that evening. There are lots of restaurants, businesses, and even a nearby shopping mall. One night I was chilling alone at the place, eating some cereal and watching Netflix. It was late, about 1 a.m. I was ready to go to bed when I hear barking from outside of the window. This isn't uncommon in my apartment complex, as they do allow dogs that are under 40 pounds, but something was seriously wrong with the way this barking sounded. It was almost as if the dog was drowning or something, like half the barks were coming from underwater. I crept outside onto the balcony, and I could see the source of the noise. It certainly looked like a dog, except for the fact that it was enormous, like the size of one of those Russian Caucasian mountain dogs. I've seriously never seen a dog that big before in person. It was standing in a dimly lit grass courtyard area of my apartment. The lights were all dull yellow and the bulbs were really old, so I couldn't make out many details of the animal. All I could honestly tell was that it was really big, really furry, and that it seemed to be pointed in my direction. When I stepped out onto the balcony, the barking immediately stopped. I stared at the dog for a while, and it almost seemed like it was staring back at me. We stayed like this for maybe 2 minutes when I hear a loud honk from a car nearby. At this point, the dog stands up on its hind legs and sprints off toward the small Aurora near my complex. It was honestly extremely terrifying, and I've never come that close to actually pooping my own pants. Of course, my first thought was I just witnessed a skinwalker. The only thing is I've never ever read or heard about skinwalkers being in such a busy city or urban area. The scariest thing is that my Navajo friend has always told me that I need to stop talking about skinwalkers because it attracts their attention. So now I definitely feel paranoid. Today's 8th encounter. September 1990, I was 15. I had gotten up early on a Saturday morning to go squirrel hunting on a small piece of property near my parents' house. This stretch of woods was located in Greenup County, Kentucky, in the northeastern part of the state. The property is bordered by Raccoon Creek and the Little Sandy River. I've hunted this area on a daily basis when I was younger, and I've never seen anything unusual. On this particular day, early September, there was a heavy dew on the trees, so it was easy to hear anything move as the dew would fall and make a very distinct noise. I was walking down the ridge top overlooking Raccoon Creek and hadn't made any noise since arriving way before daylight. As often happened, my neighbor's dog followed me that day, and I thought I had ran him off a couple hours early. Everything was completely still, with almost no wind that morning. I started hearing a dog gruff and start barking and growling in the way that I had never heard before. At first I tried to ignore the noise, but after a few minutes I decided to go run him off again, as he was screwing up my hunt. As I quietly eased down the ridge about 50 yards, I saw what I thought was a young bear through the trees. The animal was standing on its back legs and was only about 6 feet tall. I noticed that as Gruffy would lunge at the animal, it would knock him back with its hand. He would let out a yelp and then go back after the animal. I eased closer, being as quiet as possible, as I planned to shoot near the animal to keep it from killing the dog. As I got directly above the animal, it noticed me and turned to look directly at me. This is when I noticed it was not a bear. I didn't immediately distinguish the animal as a Sasquatch, but was very confused at what I was looking at. The animal began to growl viciously, which scared me than I'd ever been. When Gruffy noticed me, he ran to me and kept barking at the animal. I thought about shooting the animal, but decided that a 20-gauge shotgun at that distance with .6 shot, that I would just piss it off. I started to walk backward, slowly. After 3 to 4 steps, the animal let out this blood-curdling growl. I literally threw my shotgun down and ran home. When I got home, I told my father about what happened. After he got over the fact that my gun is still in the woods, he decided to grab his rifle and take me back to get my gun. He wouldn't accept that this was anything other than a bear. I've never spoken about this encounter because if my father would not believe me, who else would? Although black bear are in the area, I've only seen one out in the wild. I've been hunting my entire life. I still am not entirely sure what I saw that day, but I know it wasn't a bear and it was not a human. A human couldn't possibly make the sound that animal was making at that volume. Today's final encounter. I live in northwestern side of Michigan, in Manistee, and continue to live in the same home. I was in my mid-teens when this originally happened. It was night. My bed was on one wall with a big window on the opposite. I was on the first floor of the house, but we lived on a hill, so it was slanted, and still pretty high window, 9 feet off the ground. Anyway, I woke up one Saturday night feeling really thirsty. It was about 2 in the morning, and everyone else in my house was asleep. I was about to crawl out of bed and go to the bathroom just down the hall when I looked out the window and froze. At the very bottom of the window, there was a really dark shape. It looked kind of like the top part of a timber wolf's head. It was big, with 2 pointed ears. I couldn't make out any other features, so while I was still scared at first, I thought it was just a reflection of something in my room. Then it moved. You know how dogs twitch their ears and perk them up when they're trying to hear better? That's what this thing did. The 2 points that I took for ears twitched and then came back to place. And it wasn't a subtle movement at all, so I knew it wasn't a reflection. So I immediately thought of the Dogman accounts I've heard in our area. I got really scared then, so I did what the typical kid does and pulled the covers over my head and went back to sleep without getting water. In the morning, I went outside by my window and noticed disturbed ground, like a man or something on 2 legs had been sitting there. No shoe prints, but what looked like elongated wolf prints. There were no marks on the side of the house. The thing that really stumps me is wondering how anything would manage to stay up by the window that's 9 feet off the ground in the first place. After all these years, I've caught a glimpse of a tall bipedal canine on 2 other occasions. The most recent was a few weeks ago, as I was in the yard mowing the grass when I saw it through the woods. I was terrified that this creature may be stalking my family.
What is that? Looks like eye shine. Whistle? Fuck. Whistling was a bad idea. Walk down there. I'm gonna try one last thing, tree knock. Where are you at? Where are you at? I hear it. That was it.
And there you have it, folks. I hope you all enjoyed this night ending bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you for supporting the channel. It is your support, after all, that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, our family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.